Don't be afraid to take a step back. Try to figure out why you started this whole thing in the first place. Is it because you're passionate about it, or because you just thought it would make more money? Welcome to the Freedom Point Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about creating more time freedom through passive real estate investing. Passive investing in real estate challenges conventional investment wisdom. We are passionate about learning and sharing resources with others who are ready to transform their investing mindset. Quick disclaimer as always, I am not a CPA, I am not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer, ADP. I'm glad you're here. Now let's dig in. Hey everyone, hope you're having another great week. Before we start this week's episode, I want to take some time to thank you and acknowledge and honor the person listening to this. That's you while you're in your car, whether you're in between sales calls or walking your dogs, whether you're in the Northeast or the Northwest, the Southwest. I mean, there's just so many different places people are coming from, and it's really cool to hear your stories and allow me to share mine with you. Whether we're having coffee or lunch together, talking face to face, sharing stories, or even just passing each other at a conference. It's just very cool to meet so many of you. And I want to thank you for letting me know how much value this podcast has brought to you. It continues to encourage me to keep going and try to make great content for you. So again, just want to thank you and acknowledge you. Now for this week's episode, we're going to be talking about surprise passive income, right? But this time we'll be talking about why you're not creating passive income. Obviously, whenever you look around online, if you type in passive income into your search engine, probably things are going to start coming up on your Facebook page, ads and things like that. Everyone's talking about passive income streams. People talk about why you should start them, which ones you can start, how they can change your life, etc., etc. Then, how much money you can make from them. Many busy professionals commonly look for ways to create passive income. Why? So they can work less while still maintaining their current lifestyle. But honestly, many people I talk with want to leave the daily grind altogether. I mean, this happens. However, many of these same professionals that look for passive income find it's not easy to come by as everyone makes it out to be. And I'm here to tell you, it's not always easy. I mean, otherwise, everyone would have achieved really massive amounts of passive income. Despite really having the highest of aspirations, really wanting to do this, I know a good number of people that have failed to reach their goals. And I hate saying this, and I'm going to tell you the wide variety of reasons why that might be. But my hope is that this is not you. So let's talk about the reasons why. Some people are not creating the passive income that you are because of a failure to start. This is pretty obvious, but it's the number one reason busy professionals fail to find financial freedom through passive income. They just never get started. I mean, they come up with all kinds of reasons why not to start. Lack of time, lack of knowledge, experience, and it makes sense. I mean, as busy professionals, we're always short on time. You know this as you build up your sales pipeline or business. We have families as well. I mean, we're trying to juggle all of these things. I mean, where do we find the time? For those who started side hustles, you ask them, where did you find the free time to do it? I mean, honestly, they're all busy as well. I'm going to say they're extremely busy, but they also realized that they didn't want the rest of their lives to look like what it looked like at that time, or they knew something at the time had to change. So they found ways to really carve out time in their day, and everyone has the same 24 hours to pursue other ways to make passive income. Maybe they woke up an hour earlier every day. Maybe they found time in between the day when they were doing other things like driving the car, or whatever it might be. And they found time where maybe they weren't being as productive and used that time instead to plan and move towards their goals. So as far as lack of knowledge or experience, I think that's just a common obstacle that can be remedied. Just like when you started in your professional career, whatever your field is, it's not like you knew exactly what to do. It took time, but you were able to learn what to do, and experience came when you got started and committed to daily learning. If you want to get good at something, there are plenty of blogs, books, podcasts. The knowledge is there. There's more knowledge at our fingertips than ever before, but it's out there for us to find if we're looking for it right, and experience comes with just doing it. Just getting started is key, and experience will come with time. Most successful people, when you talk to them, they'll say they figured out things along the way, right? And I think the same can be said for anyone who wants to truly change where they're at in life. For us busy professionals, we shouldn't get stuck in what's called analysis paralysis, right? Where we sit there paralyzed because we want to make sure our decision has a perfect outcome. We get stuck weighing all the pros and cons, worrying about not knowing enough that we don't take action. Again, this is the best way to gain experience and knowledge, is truly by doing. When you talk to successful people, they'll say that again and again. Maybe there's a reason why some of us have a sort of side hustle. Perhaps it's a lack of money, lack of financing, right? This can be a particularly significant problem when it comes to starting certain passive income streams. I mean, some people struggle to find the money that they need for their idea or to fund their ventures, for example. It's not necessarily easy, right? Or cheap. I mean, to buy an apartment building, for example, it can get into the 6 and 7 figures, and you've got to plan for that. You've got to save. For busy professionals and other high income professionals, this can be less of a problem. I mean, we do make good incomes, but still, it can be a challenge. And of course, the key to getting over this is simply to save money. That means keeping track of your finances, your budget, making this a priority, that whole concept of paying yourself first. And what that means is that you set aside money first for things that will advance your future and help you get to where you want to be. And then the rest of the money you go and spend towards expenses and things like that, right? If you're able to do that and, section that money off, you're going to have eventually the money that you need to fund that venture or that passive income stream. So for people that lack financing, yes, it can be overcome as well by smart planning, dedication, knowing exactly what you're trying to accomplish. You might not be willing to invest in that rental property today, but maybe in 6 months you can. And I've seen it possible, and I know that it's possible for you as well. Also, maybe you're not making passive income because of fear of failure. Thomas Edison said, "I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's one of my favorite quotes. When I talk to a lot of people about passive income streams and how they're creating it, it's those that have overcome a heavy fear of failure. I mean, let's be honest, it's being afraid to fail that stops you from trying new things. I think we've all been there before. For those of you who have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're stuck in those same old patterns, and that lack of action really ultimately leads to no changes, right? Nothing changes without change. And I think it's so cliche, but it's absolutely true. I think so many of us have not failed a lot in our lives. We're high achievers. We're highly ambitious, To make it to where you are at today, we had to perform at the top of our game. And if we're being honest, many of us probably don't have many failures in our lives. So for many of us, we don't want to do anything that jeopardizes that. Now, it sounds counterintuitive, but the key to overcoming that fear of failure is to fail again and again until it no longer affects you as much. You must realize that, yes, failure only helps you get closer to your goals. Entrepreneurs know this. People in most other fields know that you need to just keep failing until it works. And each failure is just one more step towards reaching our ultimate goals. I mean, we're all overachievers, right? We've been at the top of our game for a decade or more. Again, we haven't failed very much, but this is something that once you get through the fear of failure, the world opens up. There's so much freedom in this when you don't have that same fear of failure. I like to think back on some advice that a mentor once gave me, that you should try to fail as quickly and early as possible, because that will ultimately help you get to where you want to be quicker. Maybe you're just starting the wrong passive income stream. I hate to say it, if your current passive income stream isn't working, then maybe it's the wrong thing for you. It's just one of the toughest calls to make because you just keep going, wondering if it's just a little bit more persistence that will help you break through, or should you move on? For example, my children started a coffee roasting business and they learned a ton about small business entrepreneurship. However, the business was taking too much of our family time for a small financial impact that it was time for that income stream to end. I think dedication and persistence and not giving up, that's huge. But with that, you also need the kind of flexibility and resourcefulness. Figuring out what works and what doesn't work is part of the journey. Don't be afraid to take a step back. See why something isn't working. Ask for help from mentors, maybe find a coach. Try to figure out why you started this whole thing in the first place. Is it because you're passionate about it or because you just thought it would make more money? I mean, neither's wrong in my opinion, but after a while, if you're not getting the results you want, it's going to be hard to continue if that passion and that reason why you're still doing it isn't still strong and your mind isn't there. This whole concept of pivoting, I think it's absolutely important. Some things may not go as planned, but you've got to learn to pivot and continue to move in a forward direction. And I think that's absolutely important when it comes to steady passive income streams. And lastly, you might not be putting in the work or the right kind of work. Let's be honest, a steady passive income stream is only the beginning of your journey. Along the way, you're going to have to continually course correct, especially at first, if you want to get to where you want to be. There's a writer named Grant Cardone. He wrote a book called The 10X Rule, which is a great book. He says this: you must set targets that are 10 times where you think you want to be, and then do 10 times what you think it will take to accomplish those targets. Massive thoughts must be followed by massive action. So I have a question for you. Are you putting in 10 times the work, or are you just trying to do enough to get by? I mean, you can be successful in generating passive income by putting in a dismal effort, or you need to do a 10x to your thinking. It's really about putting in most of your time and energy at the beginning to get going, and then the rewards continue to pile up over time with hopefully less effort. To create passive income streams, ask yourself if you are truly doing the necessary work on the front end to make sure it's healthy and that you're on the right course. I believe that your success rate correlates with how hard you work initially and how smart you work as well. So yes, I believe that passive income streams can absolutely change your life. It has for me, and it has for so many other people. But honestly, it's not without having to overcome some obstacles and putting in some work. I mean, you're going to hear some people out there saying it's easy. It's easy to get rich quickly. And rest assured, you'll never hear that from me. It takes a lot of hard work, just like anything. However, the benefits can grow and scale and can last a lifetime. And honestly, it can really create that financial freedom by unlinking your time from income. And I know it can be ultimately worth it in the end for you, for me, and for everyone listening. So thanks so much for listening to the Freedom Point Real Estate Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Let's connect on LinkedIn or at startingpointcapital.com. Have a great week.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the Freedom Point Podcast, powered by Starting Point Capital. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the Freedom Point Podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. If you're interested in connecting, you can find contact information at startingpointcapital.com.